Okay, let's start. So can you hear me? If you can hear me, can you give me a yes? Thank you. Right, so welcome back to our lecture. So this is our last lecture. Okay, today let's continue our discussion on ethical use of generative AI. So, um, last week we have seen nowadays GenAI is so powerful. It has been one of the tools that we use every day. So, but we also see there's a lot of problem and limitation of GenAI. If we don't handle them well, then it will lead to many ethical problems. So the ethical concern of GenAI can be um, summarized into these four areas. They are the inaccuracy and bias, copyright infringement, copyright insecurity, and also data privacy and security. So let's take a look at them one by one. So first, I think we have seen that GenAI can make many mistakes in generating the output, and particularly due to the hallucination problem, the mistake they make can be so wrong that is simply illogical and imaginary. So not only that, even the AI manufacturer, they do not know when the GenAI will make error and how the GenAI can make error. By default, GenAI has a limited ability to verify the accuracy or truthfulness of the generated content. In fact, not only inaccuracy, GenAI can also give biased output. Let's say, for example, if you ask GenAI to generate an image of a CEO, most likely you will get a image of white man. Okay, it's seldom that you will see a Chinese or black people, okay, as the CEO image. Because the AI itself, its database is biased. When you train it, CEO must have an image of a white man. Okay. The problem, I mean, is the situation in some recruitment AI is even more problematic. So these recruitment AI may be so biased that they may automatically ignore disabled or elderly application disregarding their ability. So it introduces some kind of unfairness in the society. So all this inaccuracy and bias lead to many questions. Okay, can now AI be trusted? Okay, and if AI make error, so who will be responsible? Will the company that provide the AI service be responsible for it? Sorry, they will not be responsible. I think for those of you who have used AI before, you should know that when you go to that AI system, before you use the service, you must file a disclaimer from the AI manufacturer saying that they will not be responsible for any error they model made. So if AI, they will not be responsible for the error, so who will be responsible? Us, the user, or the one who decide to use the AI service? In fact, knowing that AI can make error, is it ethically correct for a company to provide that kind of a low responsibility disclaimer? Just like, say for example, now you're working for a company, right? So one day you make a big mistake, then your boss asks you to explain, otherwise he will fire you. Okay, so you will reply to your boss saying that I had already told you I will make mistake when working. So if you hire me, then you should prepare that I will make mistake. So do you think your boss will accept your excuse in this way? Besides inaccuracy, GenAI also have ethical problem in data security and privacy. I think we all know that if you upload anything to GenAI, they will use them as a part of the database. So if somebody else asks similar question, then those things will also be leaked out to other people. Okay, this is particularly important when we want to upload some document that include the secret of my company or some personally identifiable information. Those confidential information will also be leaked out to other people. They introduce the data privacy and security concern. Also, GenAI also have the copyright and legal exposure problem. Okay, GenAI can generate content that include copyright elements such as logo, trademark, or copyright image. So when you directly use the output of GenAI in your document and publish out, then you will commit secondary infringement. GenAI also had a problem on the ownership of copyright. Say, for example, for this picture, okay, obviously it comes from Mona Lisa. So I've told you last time that the copyright of Mona Lisa is in public domain now. Okay, it means that no one knows who owns the copyright of Mona Lisa. So if someone use AI to generate this image, so just a small adjustment, okay, to the original Mona Lisa, then does he have the copyright of this image? If he has the copyright of this image, then if somebody else use that image, okay, to Mona Lisa, okay, for the application, then will he also infringe the copyright of this image? So there's another ambiguity of copyright when people use GenAI to generate different IP output. In fact, should the content created by AI be eligible for copyright protection? There's an argument about this question for many years. Some people say yes, because these output are still the output of human being. Okay, human need to generate some prompt to the AI server in order to generate those images. But a lot of people say no, because they are not exactly the output of human creativity. It is the machine that generates those images, not the human being. So what's the view? No matter what, okay, at least in the US, the copyright law has already indicated that AI content will not be eligible for copyright protection. It is the case also in Hong Kong and in many countries. Output of AI will not be eligible for copyright protection. So facing so many ethical concerns, developer of AI and use of AI should work together to make sure that these ethical concerns will not lead to some real ethical problem. So for AI developer, they should develop their own ethical Gen AI policy. They need to know clearly what they can do and what they cannot do about their Gen AI. And also, they should use unbiased training data to train the model, and also continuously update the training data sets with the latest information and events. And they should also consider the confidentiality, the user personal information and data, not to leak out the confidential information, okay, confidential information of the upload document. And for the user, just like us, we should not send confidential, sensitive, and intellectual property information to GenAI. Nowadays, many people will want to send their document to GenAI for English checking. But in this case, if the document contains your secret of a company, then those secrets will also be leaked out to other people. So my advice to you is that don't upload the whole document to GenAI. You should divide them into so many fragments, okay, and send to their GenAI for English checking. Make sure that people cannot retrieve it easily. And also for some very important, very secret thing about your company, you should not upload them to the GenAI. Also, do not assume the output of GenAI is accurate or unbiased, and always double check the output of GenAI. Obviously, it involves a lot of effort. So don't think using GenAI is the way for saving effort. And also, do not spread the output of GenAI that can lead to non-ethical purpose. In fact, besides the four ethical concerns that I just mentioned, there is a more ethical problem, okay, around GenAI. So last time I have already told you, GenAI nowadays is so powerful that it can generate a whole piece of multimedia content, just like a song, just like a movie, etc. So if GenAI is so powerful, then do we still need human professional in media production? Is it ethical to promote the use of GenAI in media production, knowing that it may deplete human media professional? This is a question that people have discussed for many years. but it is further triggered by an event happened in 2023. In April 2023, there was a German artist called Boris Edison. He won a category in the Sony World Photography Awards with an image titled The Electrician. This is the image he sent to the competition, okay, and get an award. Sony World Photography Award is one of the most prestigious awards in the photography area. Each year, there can be more than 10,000 artwork from professional and amateur to send to this award for the competition. So this picture, okay, the electrician contained two ladies, okay, with scary eyes, okay, staring on some people, something, okay. Well, obviously, it's a very good picture. So Mr. Edison get an award for this in this competition. So he was invited to join the award ceremony. But when he stepped on the stage of the award ceremony, he made an open announcement to all people in the ceremony that the image actually was generated by an AI model called DALL-E 2. He refused to accept the prize. He said that his move, okay, is just to test if prestigious photography competition were prepared for AI entries. So obviously, the organizer were so angry about his move. They later removed the image and disallow him for joining future activities. Now, Sony World Photography Award, okay, is one of the most prestigious competition in the photography area. All the judges in the award are the expert in the field. But see, even the expert in the field cannot distinguish a work. This one that is generated by AI. So it triggered a heat debate on the ethical use of GenAI in creative business. As GenAI can create media much faster, cheaper, of similar quality, okay, as those made by human professional. So it is a waste of resource to continue training human professional in media production. You know, in recent years, some university in China, they have already cut their degree program in media production. At least in China, they feel that they do not need so many human professionals in this area. So in this case, will the professional in creative business be replaced by prompt engineer? Some years later, you know, the skill set required by prompt engineer is much less demanding by human professional in media production, such as a photographer. Okay, photographer need to have a long time training in order to be a professional. But a prompt engineer just need to sit on the office chair with some prompt to the engineer and then the AI server, then the professional image can be generated out. Some people argue that GenAI cannot really create out of the box. The reliance of GenAI in media production will strangle true creative output. But if you look at those true creative output made by human, okay, you will find that they are not really creative. Just like some new songs, okay, you will find that the melody is very similar to the old song. It's just a remix or rearrangement of the old song actually. So if just rearrangement, why don't we use AI to do it? So what should we use support continuing to promote the use of GenAI in creative business, knowing that it may deplete human professional in media production? Means that many people in this area will lose their job. Okay, so is it ethical to do so? Can you explain the rationale of the choice? So now it's time for you to do some exercise. Can you go to the Blackboard to give your views on these two questions? Now, please go to the Blackboard. Okay, go to folder, Unit 11. And then look for Unit 11, Group 2, Class Activity 1. Click the link. Then you can find the question. Okay, there are two questions. One, do you support continuing to promote the use of GenAI in creative business, knowing that it may deplete human professionals in media production, and then why you want you make that decision. Okay. As I mentioned to you before, I may use it to check your tendency. Okay. So make sure that you will submit your answer. Last time, still some of you tell me, I don't know. Okay. Now, remember, don't do this stupid thing again. Okay. Trivial answer may not be count. Okay. 5 minutes. If you have any difficulty in doing this question, let me know. So you may want to, this is the question. This is the argument that people made. Okay. 5 minutes. You don't need to write an essay for your question. Maybe just a single line will be sufficient. Okay. Just don't tell me, don't give me trivial answer. Just like I don't support because I don't support. Okay, 2 more minutes. Okay, now you still have a bit of time to enter your answer. So let me just look at the current result first. So, wow, most of you support, okay, most of you support continuing to promote the use of GenAI in creative business. You really don't care those people working in media production, okay? They will lose their job. You really don't care. So, what's your reason? Okay, so let me take a look. Okay, so what's your reason? Um, so this one, GenAI may help you to do some research, but the creativity is needed but to be by human. Yeah. So yeah, in the past, we always think that GenAI is a tool, just a tool to help human to work. Okay. But now, as you can see in the movie that I showed you last week, GenAI can generate the whole movie. Okay. You don't need actor, you don't need director, you don't need any people working for the movie. Okay. So there's no creativity left for human to make, okay, for movie production if we continue use Gen AI. This one, I think AI can only support human. Only man can do the real creative. Yeah. Just what I said. Nowadays, human, okay, has no chance to make creative work if we continue to use the Gen AI. Okay, if the work could be replaced by AI, that means the output work is already not creative enough. But nowadays, many work, so-called creative work, really not creative. Okay, so that's why AI can be used. Okay, I will read the other answer later on. Okay, now actually you have done a few exercises like this before, right? Every time there's not an absolute right or wrong answer. So just depends on situation and condition. So actually, all I want you to learn is to the ability, okay, and to develop a habit to think and analyze that kind of ethical problem. So at a time when you need to really face that kind of problem, you have the ability to make the right choice in different situation. Okay, right. In fact, besides ethical concern, many applications of GenAI also have legal issue. Okay, in fact, we have seen GenAI can create many problems related to copyright. So it is not only the ethical problem, but the legal problem that some output of GenAI can infringe on copyright law. And also, it will also infringe on people's privacy and data security. GenAI can also be used to commit crime in different domains. As you have seen, deepfake can manipulate a person's voice and appearance to generate false information and commit identity fraud. GenAI can also be used to develop cyber weapons. For example, it can generate malware that is difficult to detect. How to do so? Let me give you an example. I think all of you know what is malware, right? Many people think that they need to accept an email or WhatsApp message and click a link in that message, then they will be infected by malware. But actually, it's not the case. Sometimes you just need to visit a website, particularly those with many advertisements. Okay, just visit the website. The malware can silently be installed in your computer already. But you may say that why my computer still function correctly most of the time? Just because nowadays most computer has been installed with antivirus software. Malware cannot work alone. You need to work with outside CNC server. We call it the command and control server, which is where the hacker is located. So the malware will analyze your computer and then send the information of the computer to this CNC server. When the hacker receives this information, it will send back a chunk of executable binary code to the malware and then execute inside the malware, okay, and to compromise your computer. However, because the CNC server needs to generate this last chunk of binary code, the antivirus software can easily detect because there are a lot of data, okay? So if the antivirus software detects this chunk of data, then it can remove it before it compromises your computer. So that's why your computer still functions correctly, even you have a malware installed. But it's not the case when AI involved. Someone in 2023, someone posts a message or story, okay, the web page called a website called CyberArk, which is a popular web page in the area of information security. So this guy proposed a very simple yet effective method of using GenAI in producing malware. In his proposal, malware actually is a Python interpreter, something that can execute Python program. As usual, the malware will analyze your computer and then generate information to the CNC server. But this time, the CNC server does not need to send back a large chunk of data that can be easily detected by the antivirus software. Since this CNC server just sends back some prompt, text prompt, okay, text data, very short one, okay, to the malware, okay. Because it's a text and also very short, that's why it is very difficult for the antivirus software to detect it. That prompt will be redirected to a GenAI server. Okay, that prompt will ask the server to generate a program, a Python program, in the form of Python module sent back to the computer. Okay, now because sending prompt to a server and receiving the Python module, they are all normal operation of a computer. That's why, in general, antivirus software cannot detect this operation. So the module will be run inside this Python interpreter of the malware, and then it compromise your computer, such as encrypting some file of a computer, something like that. The method is so simple and effective, hope that no one really use it in developing their malware. So since this application of GenAI can have these kind of legal implication, that's why many countries start working on formulating legal measures to regulate the use of GenAI. In terms of regulating unethical use of AI, the legislative effort of the European Union, EU, is the most advanced in the world. In 2024, EU established the AI Act, which is the first comprehensive legal framework for artificial intelligence. Following the spirit of GDPR, still remember, GDPR is a regulation for privacy, okay? Following the spirit of GDPR, company who fail to follow the AI Act will be fined with a lot of money, up to 35 million euro, or 7% of the global annual turnover. A lot of money, okay? So let me give you some example of the regulation mentioned in the AI Act. In the EU AI Act, they consider some AI application to be totally unacceptable. They need to be banned, okay? Some examples include ranking people based on behavior, assess an individual's likelihood of committing a crime based solely on profiling, or to detect emotion in workplace or educational institution. Some EEE students may are doing research in emotion recognition, okay? So make sure that you know it is banned in Europe, okay, in workplace or educational institution in Europe. Secretly influence human behavior to cause harm is also banned, okay? All these applications, okay, are related to human rights. That's why EU need to protect human rights. So that's why they want to ban this application. Besides this application, some other application EU consider that they should be strictly regulated. They consider to be high risk, to have a high risk. They include areas like recruitment, law enforcement, education, and healthcare. They consider this application has high risk. Okay, that's why all their system need to go through some stringent control. Okay, they have a stringent requirement for the quality of the data, human oversight, and transparency. Some regulation of EU AI Act target particularly on GenAI. So, for example, for deepfake, many countries actually want to regulate deepfake. In the EU AI Act, content like AI generated image or audio must be clearly marked as artificial. So if you have a website in Europe, if you post some AI generated image into your website, you need to clearly mark them as artificial. And also, if you have a chatbot in Europe, you need to tell the user that they are interacting with a machine. Okay. Regarding regulating GenAI, the pace of the US is much slower. All the laws related to regulating AI is only at the state level. That is implemented only at different states. Although they are talking about extending them into federal laws, okay, in about 2027. So these are the regulations, okay, in different states in the US. So all of them are just similar to those in the EU AI Act. Besides tightening up the regulation, effort has also been made by official organization and professional to enable users to detect generative AI output. Just like when you submit your reflective writing to Turnitin, Turnitin also uses its AI checker, okay, to check whether your output is generated by AI. So not only Turnitin, but there are many other applications such as Keyboard, such as Grammarly, also have their AI checker, okay. However, at least at the moment, no detector can conclusively or definitely determine whether AI was used to produce text. Just like Turnitin, they will give us just a percentage indicating how likely your output is generated by AI. Besides legal regulation or tightening up the application, there are a lot of work in the academic and also in the industry, okay, trying to resolve the limitation of GenAI such that it will not become an ethical concern or legal concern. Still remember, last week I mentioned that the two major limitations of GenAI is first is cut-off date problem. Okay, that is, if a model is trained by some data last year, then it will not give you accurate response if you ask it anything happened this year. This is what we call the cut-off date problem of GenAI. But for some newer large language model, such as Copilot, they use a technique called retrieval augmented generation, or RAG, to solve this problem. So what is RAG? The idea is very simple. System like Copilot keep an extra database. This database will keep some latest information, okay, beyond the cut-off date of their training dataset. So if a user asks anything to Copilot or something happened beyond the cut-off date of their training dataset, the system will get into this extra database to look for information. Okay, because they are all newer information, so the response given by Copilot will be more accurate. Besides this RAG technique, Perplexity AI has a more powerful technique called agentic RAG. Nowadays, agentic AI is very popular, right? So RAG, agentic RAG, just use a web agent to help you to search for newer information. Say if a user asks the Perplexity AI something that beyond the cut-off date of the training dataset, then the system will ask a web agent to go to the web to search for the information you require. Of course, although it's effective, but this ad hoc searching method cannot guarantee that the thing searched by the web agent must be correct. So it means that there will still be the possibility that the system cannot give you a correct answer. But still, it is more correct than before. Besides, GenAI also has the problem of hallucination. Okay, it can generate a totally wrong answer. But newer models, such as DeepSeek R1 or Gemini 2.0, they use a reasoning approach, reasoning LLM approach. The idea is very simple. They verify the output before send the output to you. Of course, it only applies to those problems that can be verified, such as mathematics, such as program code generation. This problem can be verified. That's why they will verify the output first, then send the result to you. That's why the output will not be incorrect. However, some problem cannot be verified. Say, if you ask a GenAI to generate an image, generate a video, the error in the image or video will be very difficult to verify. Then in this case, even that DeepSeek R1 or Gemini 2.0 can also make error in this case. Besides solving individual limitation, there are many researchers nowadays trying to develop a holistic method for developing trustworthy AI. Trustworthy AI refer to those AI systems that is designed to be fair, transparent, responsible, safe, robust, and with privacy. They use many techniques. We call it privacy enhancing technology, PET, okay, to achieve this objective. These techniques include homomorphic encryption, federated learning, secure multi-party computation, differential privacy, zero knowledge proof. Too bad I cannot explain this technique one by one due to time limitation. Although it is still a research topic, many professional organizations, companies, government organizations, they have work program trying to integrate trustworthy AI, the concept, okay, into their system. Say, for example, International Telecommunication Union, ITU, which is an agent of the United Nations. So they are working on standardized trustworthy AI. According to their schedule, in 2027, there will be a set of new standards talking about how to develop trustworthy AI system. Also, companies like IBM and NVIDIA, they have made use of the principle of trustworthy AI in their product. Say, IBM has their Watson X business application platform, which came to be a trustworthy AI platform. And also, different government organizations, such as the US Department of Commerce, the EU, have made use of the spirit of GenAI in formulating their new regulation law. Okay, so with the holistic effort of academic, research institution, industry, and government, it is believed that the AI ecosystem will be more reliable, transparent, and ethics respected in the near future. Although, of course, at the moment, we still need to face the inaccuracy, all the ethical and legal problem of GenAI. So as GenAI has so many problems, does PolyU recommend our students to use GenAI? The answer is yes. Okay, it's clearly stated in the guideline of PolyU that PolyUs take an open and forward-looking stand the use of GenAI as a positive and creative force in education. So PolyU welcomes students to use GenAI in their study. However, students should still adhere to high standards of academic integrity in all forms of assessment. Okay, PolyU recommends students to use GenAI for brainstorming and generating ideas only, not to ask GenAI to write your essay or academic assignment. Always check for factual accuracy of AI-generated output before using it. Do not rely solely on AI-generated content as a source of information. Always verify and cross-reference. And do not input any personal details of confidential information when using GenAI. Don't upload your document of a company with secrets, okay, to GenAI because they will be leaked out to other people. PolyU also allows students to use GenAI tools in doing their assignment. But however, it is subject dependent. Just like our subject, okay, you can use GenAI to write part A of the reflective writing. The part B must be analysis of the self. If you use GenAI without permission, it is considered cheating and plagiarism in PolyU, which is a very serious offense. Make sure that you know about it. So you should refer to the subject and assessment document before you use your GenAI to do anything in the subject. And also, if GenAI tools were used, students must explicitly declare which model were used, for what purpose, and how they were used in the work with proper citations. Okay, of course, you don't need to do it for your reflective writing because we have not talked about it before. But in your future assignment, make sure that you will do it. Some of you may have a research element in your program. So you may also want to publish paper. But bear in mind that nowadays, most publishers still do not permit AI-generated text or images. So if you include some AI-generated text and image in your paper and submit to the publisher, your paper will be rejected without review. So as a general suggestion, you should use GenAI tools only to enhance readability and improve language. And of course, your research is about GenAI. Then of course, you can use GenAI in your research paper. So anyway, the same. If you use GenAI, you should declare which model will use, for what purpose, and how they will use in the work with proper citation. I talked about citation a few times, but in fact, most reference styles have no specific guideline for citing AI output. So if you need to do so, you need to refer to the guideline provided by the university. In this website, you can find many examples how to cite AI content. Here, let me give just a few examples. If you want to do in-text citation, say, for example, I want to add a reference in this statement, okay? So you can do it this way. This is a statement I want to write, and this is a citation, okay? In this citation, you need to include the name of the company which developed the model and the date, the year that the model was released. Okay, then in the reference list, you need to add a reference like this. This is the name of the company that developed the model. This is the release date. And because this is an AI chat, you also need to include the title of the chat. Then the name of the model and the website, how you assess the model. So this is a way for us to cite AI content. Okay, so let me summarize what we have discussed today. So at the very beginning, I mentioned that there are four main ethical concerns around GenAI. They are inaccuracy and bias, data privacy and security, copyright infringement, and copyright ambiguity. And some applications of GenAI not only have ethical concern, and also legal concern. So that's why many countries have developed legal measures for regulating the use of GenAI. And besides regulation, effort also made to develop tools to detect GenAI output and to improve the reliability of AI systems, such as the trustworthy AI system. To ease the ethical concern, both AI developer and user should have an ethical mindset when developing and using AI respectively. In PolyU, we welcome students to use GenAI. We consider GenAI as a positive and creative force in education. So the use of GenAI in assessment depends on the nature of the subject and the objective of the assessment task. Always check for the subject descriptive document to understand whether you can use GenAI in the subject. Okay, so this is what I talk about today. You have any question? Anything you want to ask? If not, then there are two announcements. Okay, first, some of you need to take the extra online test. Okay, so Actually, you should have received an email before. And then we will send you another email to confirm you that the email will be sent this week or next week. So in the email, you will find all the details, how to do the test. Basically, the test will start on next Monday to next Sunday. Okay, so you have 1 week to do the test. The format is similar to the quiz. So you can find the test on the blackboard. Okay, there are also some multiple choice questions. There are more questions in this case. So more detail will be included in the email I'm going to send to you. So if you have not received my email before about taking the extra online test, or you do not see the email this week or next week, then you can forget about it. Okay. Another announcement is the university asked me to promote a bit the SFQ. So if you have not filled in the SFQ, so please help to do so as soon as possible. Okay. So I got a question. What is the email title of the extra online test? Maybe just extra online test. Title will be extra online test. Okay. It will be sent from the subject. You will not miss it. Okay. Any more question? If no, then this is our last lecture. I don't think you want to see me again, right? So just goodbye and good luck. Bye bye.